Before the grid goes down and the internet becomes a memory, take a second right now to hit that like button and drop a comment below, because the algorithm is the first thing that dies when the lights go out. Listen to that silence. It's been 3 weeks since the power failed, and the initial chaotic noise of the collapse has been replaced by this suffocating, heavy quiet. The temperature inside your living room is matching the frost on the windows, and the only thing colder than the air is the realization that the gas stations aren't just closed, they are hollowed-out husks. You've watched your neighbors siphon the last drops from abandoned sedans, fighting over dregs, convinced that once the pumps are dry, the age of the engine is over. They look at a dead generator and see a paperweight. They look at a garage full of waste oil and paint thinner and see trash. They are freezing because they are trapped in the mindset of a consumer, waiting for a tanker truck that is never coming to rescue them. But you aren't going to freeze, and you aren't going to wait. You are going to look at that industrial corpse of the old world and see a harvest field. The misconception that kills the unprepared is the belief that fuel is a specific product you buy rather than a chemical property you can manufacture. If it burns, it turns. Today, we are going to stop scavenging for gasoline and start building a refinery in your backyard. We are going to take the sludge, the solvents, and the waste, and we are going to use basic thermodynamics and a refusal to be a victim to turn that trash into torque. We are going to make the chemistry of the apocalypse work for you. The first step in this alchemy is redefining your feedstock, because you need to stop looking at the gas cap and start looking at the oil pan. Go to those abandoned cars that have already been siphoned dry of gas. Everyone left the black gold sitting right in the engine block. Slide a pan under the crankcase and drain. The used motor oil, the transmission fluid, even the hydraulic fluid from heavy machinery. This stuff is packed with potential energy, but it's too thick to run through a standard carburetor without clogging the jets and killing your generator. You need a thinner, a cutter, something to lower the viscosity. This is where you scavenge the garages and janitorial closets for stale gasoline, kerosene, or heating oil. By mixing your scavenged heavy oils with these lighter hydrocarbons at a ratio of roughly 70% oil to 30% gas, you create a black diesel blend. You are taking a useless sludge and chemically chopping it down until it mimics the flow rate of fuel. It's not pretty, and it smells like burning rubber. But when the alternative is hypothermia, that smoke smells like life. Once you have your raw sludge, you have to realize that purity is the difference between a running engine and a seized piston. You cannot pour that bucket of scavenged mix directly into your machine because it is full of metal shavings, carbon grit, and road grime that will scour your cylinder walls like sandpaper. You need to build a gravity-fed filtration gauntlet. Take a 2-liter soda bottle, cut the bottom off, and invert it. Stuff the neck tight with a piece of denim from an old pair of jeans. Denim is woven tightly enough to catch the big debris. On top of that, layer crushed charcoal from your fire pit, and then a layer of fine sand. When you pour your black mix through, this gravity pulls it through the layers, trapping the particulates that would cause an engine heart attack. You watch the dirty, opaque sludge drip out the bottom as a cleaner, translucent amber fluid. This isn't just cleaning, it's refining. You are protecting your machinery because in this world, a replacement part costs more than gold. However, sometimes blending isn't enough, and you need high-octane volatile fuel to start a cold engine. This is where you transition from a mixer to a distiller. And this is where the danger spikes. You are going to build a fractional still using a pressure cooker and copper tubing. You fill the pot with that old sour gas that won't ignite, or a mixture of solvents and paint thinners. You seal the lid, and you better seal it tight, because a vapor leak here doesn't mean a mess, it means a fuel-air bomb in your face. You run copper tubing from the steam vent of the cooker, coiling it through a bucket of cold water. As you apply gentle heat to the pressure cooker, the volatile vapors boil off first, travel up the tube, hit the cold section in the bucket, and condense back into a clear, potent liquid. This is thermal cracking in its most primitive form. You are separating the bang from the gunk. You have to watch the temperature like a hawk. Too hot, and you boil the sludge. Too cold, and nothing happens. It requires a nerve of steel, but the drip, drip, drip of clear, high-grade fuel at the end of the line is a triumph of physics over scarcity. Now that you have your fuel, you have to treat it with the respect you'd give a loaded weapon, specifically regarding static electricity. When you pour these dry, homemade fuels from one plastic container to another, the friction of the liquid generates a static charge. In a normal world, a spark is an annoyance. In your garage refinery saturated with explosive fumes, a spark is a death sentence. You need to bond and ground everything. Run a length of copper wire or a set of jumper cables between your source container and your receiving tank, and connect that to a metal rod driven into the earth. You are equalizing the electrical potential. It feels paranoid until you realize that you are manufacturing napalm in a confined space. This step separates the chemists from the casualties. You act methodically, pouring slowly, keeping the nozzle in contact with the rim, ensuring that physics is working for you, not plotting your incineration. You also need to understand that this Frankenstein fuel burns differently than pump gas, so you have to adjust the lungs of your machine. Your generator's carburetor is tuned for a specific air-to-fuel ratio, and your heavy home brew is going to run rich and smoky. You need to find the pilot screw on the carburetor and lean it out, allowing more air into the mix to balance the heavier fuel. You also need to advance the timing if possible, giving the slower-burning oil mix a split second longer to ignite before the piston reaches the top. You aren't just pouring gas, you are tuning the machine to the fuel. You listen to the idle. If it's surging, it's hungry. If it's bogging down, it's drowning. You become a mechanic by necessity, feeling the vibration of the engine through your boots, diagnosing the burn by the smell of the exhaust. The final component isn't mechanical, it's psychological. When you get this right, when that engine catches and roars to life, you are generating two things: electricity and a massive target. In a silent world, the sound of a running engine travels for miles. It is a beacon that screams, "I have resources." You need to employ the noise bluff. Don't just rely on sandbags to muffle the sound. Use the sound as a weapon of intimidation. If you have the fuel to run a generator, you have the power to run floodlights. When scavengers approach, drawn by the hum, you don't hide. You blind them. You project the image of a fortress that has energy to burn. You make the noise signify strength, not vulnerability. You let the growl of that engine suggest that if you can manufacture fuel, you can certainly manufacture ammunition. You turn the beacon into a warning sign. This is the shift that changes everything. You aren't just a survivor hoarding cans of beans anymore. You are a master of energy. While others are freezing in the dark, praying for the grid to flicker back on, you are stripping the chemical potential out of the garbage they left behind. The silence of the neighborhood is still there, heavy and oppressive, but inside your perimeter, there is the rhythmic, mechanical heartbeat of a generator running on your own creation. The lights flicker on, warm and yellow, pushing back the shadows. You feel the heat radiating from the electric heater, a luxury that feels like a miracle. You walk to the window and look out at the dark, frozen street. You know the noise has attracted attention. You can see the shadows moving at the end of the block, the desperate moths drawn to your flame. But you aren't afraid. You check the perimeter, you check the fuel level, and you stand your ground. You have turned the waste of a dead society into the blood of your new one. You didn't just survive the collapse, you engineered your way out of it. Let them come. You have the power now. Drop a comment below. What is the one piece of trash you'd hoard right now for fuel potential? Hit like if you're ready to build, and subscribe so you don't miss the next lesson on fortifying your perimeter. Stay sharp.